Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Hands On channel. Today we're going to get a little bit political. So if you're easily offended by other people's opinions about politics, then you probably want to tune out for this video and just, tune in to something else that's a little bit less, let's see, controversial, I guess. Although there really is no controversy about this. So let me just get right into what I'm talking about. I've seen several people, and I hear this mantra often in the media and with our current politicians. They say the greatest threat to the U.S. is X or Y or Z. They say it over and over and over so much that, again, it's become the mainstream mantra, and I wanted to read you a couple of examples of what I've been seeing here just this last week. Two really great examples, and we'll get into some examples of what I think are real threats, or the real greatest threat to the United States of America. So let's get right into this. Number one, I've got this stuff printed out here. I'll put a link up here so you guys can go check out the article that I'm referring to. I'm just going to scan the headline and talk a little bit about it. Biden warns climate change is the greatest threat to the U.S. security. This is not a joke, he says. So if you've been paying attention at all here this last week, during the G7 summit, all over, which is basically just another way of saying they're selling out the sovereignty of the United States of America. But anyways, I digress. Biden, when he was able to, put a couple of sentences together without major, 45-second pauses in between each word, he actually said that climate change was the greatest threat that we face as a nation to our security, to U.S. security. So, completely idiotic. And this is not the first time we've heard this kind of rhetoric before. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she has said similar things, that, if we keep this up, the world's going to be over in 10 years. I mean, what kind of message does that send to young people? It sends fear. We're going to scare you into doing these things because so far we haven't been able to provide concrete, unbiased science that backs up our claims. Over and over and over, I see these claims, whether it be AOC or Biden or any of his other commies that he put in place. And I didn't misspeak. He put communists in power all around the United States, all in all of his bureaucracies at the heads. They're run by Marxists at very least, communists at most case scenarios. So anyways, Biden's warning that climate change is the greatest threat that we face as the United States. I say bullshit. Next up, let's see here's another one of these commies that Biden put in place. Attorney General Merrick Garland. Domestic terrorists fighting for the superiority of the white race are the greatest threat to the U.S. And he's basing this on what happened on January 6th. And we're finding more and more information out. I saw a video just today that was released by Revolver. You have to go check it out. And I'm not sophisticated enough in my video editing to where I can link this video, or where I can put the video clip in here without getting in trouble for like copyright stuff and things like that. So I'm just going to provide you the link. But I saw it on the Gateway Pundit, but they referenced Revolver. And essentially, it's all these guys in, what do they call it? Black garb or whatever they call it. It's on the tip of my brain here, but I'm not thinking of it. These people all dressed up in completely black. Antifa. And they were the first people through the doors on January 6th, just as many of us said. And by the way, ask yourself this question. Why is there so much video evidence that hasn't been released yet? I mean, if there's nothing to hide and it wasn't Antifa, let us all see it, put it out in daylight so that we can see what really happened on January 6th, because I am sure it is not what the Democrats, Joe Biden, and AG Merrick Garland are saying. This guy's a communist. Don't kid yourself. He's a pure, they want to destroy the United States of America. These people that are in power right now. So, that ain't no joke. China poses the biggest threat to U.S. national security. Now, I do agree with this one. It's a great threat. This is probably one of our greatest threats that can't really be talked about enough because currently, if you don't know, many people call Biden Beijing Biden, and it's because of the dirty business dealings that Hunter, basically acting as a family liaison, was going out to China, allegedly, and doing all of these business deals. And oh, by the way, I just saw something today about Hunter Biden. Guess what? he's an artist, and no one knew, you know. I guess after he got off crack and all that and straightened his life out and stopped doing all that terrible stuff that he was doing, he, you know, which was forbidden information during the election. Remember that, guys. They wouldn't let anyone talk about it except for like Gateway Pundit and Breitbart and a few other places like that where were even talking about what Giuliani had found on that laptop. And still we don't know very much about it. It's just kind of been brushed under the rug like everything else. Oh, and by the way, Epstein didn't kill himself. So, you know, back to this. China poses the biggest threat. You're damned right they do. And they've got their man in the White House. And he's put Chinese agents all throughout the bureaucracies in the federal government. So yeah, that is a big threat. And it's probably one of the biggest ones we need to be concerned with. But an even bigger threat than that is the volatility and the delicacy of the JIT, or just-in-time supply chain. If you don't know what that is, please do me and you a favor and go look up what the JIT supply chain is. It blew my mind when I first learned about it years ago. They've basically abandoned the idea of stocking warehouses full of food and, you know, big, you know, distribution hubs and then sending that over. No, instead they've got this system called JIT, just in time. And I believe, if I'm remembering right, it was invented in Japan or something like that. And at some point, I don't know, 80s or 90s, they started implementing this JIT supply chain thing. Well, I'm going to insert a picture here. I went to my own local grocery store today, and I'm going to say 25% of the shelves were empty. Now, that might not sound like much, but in some places, all of the stuff was gone from the shelf. So guys, we're not out of the woods yet. I know a lot of people are back to work, and some places you're still locked down and stuff, and you're being, you know, having to wear these masks and all this other stuff that's just crazy stuff. But, you know, and some people might say, speaking of that, some people might think that, you know, based on the media and the way they depicted the whole, how can I say this, Rona from last year, the way that went on, some people might think that the Rona is the greatest threat. And, you know, basically it's a, you know, a hopped up super cold that was made by, I guess, Fauci and the Chinese and, you know, all the other people that were involved in that process and that approved that process to allow the Wuhan lab to create that virus. Now, what we don't know is whether or not it was released intentionally or not. I believe it was. So you can believe what you want, but based on everything that I've seen and reading China's white papers over the years, there is nothing they would love more than to bring the United States of America to its knees with a virus that they created and we helped them create. So yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Mr. Biden, or should I say Hunter Biden. So yeah, we do have some real threats out here that we should be concerned about. And again, China's a big one. The JIT food supply chain is another one. And you know, speaking of that, I just saw another article a couple of days ago. I was actually going to make a standalone video about it, but we're going to talk about it right now. And it's what was that? It's called the Chem Tool Factory. And I believe it was in Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, it was the biggest grease, oil, and lubricants supplier in all of the United States. And of course, like every other giant company like that, it's owned by foreign interests. So it's not actually a USA-owned company, but it was a producing factory that was huge, man. I don't know if you saw the fire, but it was a mega fire. And some people are speculating that it was some sort of an attack that caused the fire. I don't know. I'm not going to go there. I don't have the information. I'm not from around there. But the way everything's going, we've had all these cyber attacks and other things. If it were me, I would have a raised eyebrow and I'd be thinking real hard and investigating that fire real hard and finding out if that was some sort of, you know, inside espionage from some company worker that, you know, whatever, just wanted to do it, or was it somebody that was trying to hurt the supply chain? Because if you don't realize it, you might be thinking, hey, grease is not that important, you know, oil and lubes, you know, yeah, sure, I can put my vehicle maintenance off for a few months or whatever. Well, here's the problem. The fleet of trucks that deliver all of that JIT food have to have grease. The tractors that plow the fields, the big heavy machinery that do all of the work to bring that food on the JIT delivery system to your table and put food in your belly, all of that is threatened right now. Yes, there are other smaller grease manufacturing companies around, but they're not set up to deal with the volume that this company was dealing with. So, you know, I put up a little post there on the community side of YouTube there, and I said, you know, beware, this could cause supply chain disruptions, because again, grease is what makes the world go round. It makes what makes all the wheels go round. So without it, all of those wheels are going to be grinding to a halt. And again, I'm not saying that we're not going to be able to get any more grease. I'm just saying that get ready, guys. The prices are going to definitely skyrocket, and the availability may be limited, or in some cases unavailable. So again, stock up, prep, you know, do everything you can, buy stored food, all that stuff, canned food, anything you can do to get a leg up on this inflationary tidal wave or tsunami that's coming our way. And we're already in it. We're, you know, right now we're in the part of the tsunami where the ocean waves have all pulled back off the shore, and you can see way more of the shore than you've ever been able to see before. But if you know how a tsunami operates, when it starts coming, it's going to be overwhelming. So I want to touch on this real quick. What I think is the greatest threat that we face as a country, the United States of America. Well, it's going to be hard to get this all in one sentence, but the greatest threat we face in the United States of America is a bloated, out of control, unconstitutional federal government. They have forgotten what it means to, they've forgotten what liberty means. They've forgotten what freedom means. Or maybe they do know what it means and they just don't care. They're doing everything they can. They're hell-bent on destroying the sovereignty of the United States of America with all of their globalist deals. Do you think for a second Joe Biden is going to stand up against Klaus Schwab's idea of a great reset, as he calls it? Do you think, anybody in Biden's administration would be opposed to a great reset? Or would they openly accept it with open arms and bring it right into the country and kick the door open and allow them to do it? I think that's the answer. Joe Biden doesn't care about the U.S. Constitution. In fact, it's an obstacle to him that's standing in the way of him taking all of our rights away. Look at the actions of the man. You know, he's gone strongly after, made efforts to go after almost every firearm. I mean, with registration and talking about banning AR-15s and AK-47s and anything with a high-capacity magazine. Well, hell, man, that's probably, 2/3 of the weapons that we have in the United States of America. So the guy's clearly not pro Second Amendment. And based on all the theatrics that they put forward, it was really a kabuki theater that the Democrats did on January 6th. And based on the way the media reacted to their kabuki theater, and just accepted it and said, oh, yeah, it was all these white supremacists. I didn't see any sign of any white supremacists. They always make these accusations, but they never provide any proof. They never say, okay, this right here this is how making somebody show their ID to vote is racist. No one ever explains that. There is nothing racist about that. You have to have an ID to go do anything in this country. So if that is racist, then by default, everything else that you ask for an ID for is also racist. And if we're going to do it, we got to call it all. If it's going to be like that, then we have to be consistent. And there is no consistency in the Democrats. Unbelievable. You're telling me this guy got 80 million votes? And I'll have to leave that question unanswered, because if I answer the question what I think, YouTube will ban my video, or take my video down, or ban my channel, or shadow ban me again. So, guys, the greatest threat to the United States of America is our own freaking government. And really, if you want to know who to blame, like the great line from V for Vendetta, if you really want to know who to blame, all you have to do is look in the mirror. And I'm talking to myself as well, because we've all gotten too comfortable and let these people that can, supposedly representing us, we've let them basically take the train off the tracks. And I don't know if there is a way to put Pandora back in the box. But we have this piece of paper. It's called the U.S. Constitution. And it's more importantly than that, it's the supreme law of the land, meaning that it is more important and more powerful than any other law that these legislatures or, governors or even your local town and mayor, if they're doing stuff that's unconstitutional and you can prove that, You may have to go through the court system, and it's going to be a real hassle. But, if you can prove that, then they cannot stand. You do not have to abide by laws that are unconstitutional. In fact, I would argue it's your duty to defy laws that are unconstitutional. Guys, I don't want to go on too long here. Let me know in the comments, what do you think is the greatest threat that we face as a country, the United States of America? What is the greatest threat? Is it pollution and climate control? Am I totally wrong? Is it Russia? I forgot to even mention them. Ever since Hillary did the Uranium One deal, Russia has been enemy number one from the Democrats' perspective. And I don't quite understand that, unless it's a tactic to distract us from the real enemy, which is the people that are currently in the highest seats in the land. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is who you guys voted for. 80 million of you, they say. Wasn't me. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.